how do I, and really, I guess my family and I grieve something that hasn't directly happened to us in a way without making it selfish. So I'm referring, to the flooding that happened in Central Texas and the tragedy at Camp Mystic. It's just weighed really heavily on mine and my wife's heart, and we're not sure, how do we grieve that well, and how do we grieve that appropriately?
Tell me where the judgment of your grief is coming from.
I think part of it is just seeing how people have reacted to tragedy, like on social media in the past, just the way they've made it about, like, oh, look at me, look how sorrowful I am. This is all about me. And I just, like, I don't want to be disrespectful to those who have lost loved ones when I haven't. And it almost feels guilty crying over somebody else losing children who I don't know and have no relationship with. I've cried over friends who have lost people before and have grieved, those around me who have walked through hard times. But I think just having something so distant and grieving so heavily over it, it almost feels like I'm not allowed to.
Yeah. Where does that voice come from, man?
Like, I think I just get irritated seeing people make tragedy about them and about how they're feeling, and it almost feels like they're trying to shine light on themselves and not show compassion for those around them.
So can I say something real hard to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds like your chief fear is that other people are judging you as harshly as you judge others. One of the things I've learned, and this comes from a great friend of mine named Link. Him and his wife experienced a pretty traumatic pregnancy loss, very close to term. And then my wife and I went through one of our miscarriages, which was much earlier in the term. And him and I were talking, and he was on the crisis team with me. He's just been a good mentor of mine. He's ahead of me. He's been being a mental health professional longer than I have. And I remember us talking, and I stopped and I said, during our conversation, I said, yeah, I know what we went through is not near as bad as what you and his wife went through. And he stopped me. And he said, loss is loss is loss. And I'll never forget those 3 words. Like, hurt and pain is hurt and pain. And when we judge how other people are experiencing it, I don't know. Here's the deal. There are people who use tragedy for their own personal gain. Politicians, we saw that happen. It's disgusting and gross.
Yeah.
They did it within 10 minutes. They were politicizing it, right? And there's real, I've got friends and family and community members in Texas. I've got family members that were deeply affected by this, lost everything. Like, I've a vested interest in this, and there's real blame to go around. And there's also it rained 30 feet, like, right? All that's to say, if your heart is with those hurting parents, there's no judgment, dude. Cry your eyes out. I have. My kids have been at a camp ever since that happened. One of my kids has been away from my house at a camp. I haven't had everybody back in the house yet. And I haven't slept yet. Not well. And so I hope every parent grieves deeply at the loss of somebody else's child. Do I think it can be gross that people put on social media? Yeah, I just don't even pay attention to it. And so my hope is, as a parent, you and your wife as parents, I hope y'all are kept up at night by the loss of kids. I hope you look around your local community and say, where can we get involved here? I hope you say, I don't know why I'm crying because our kids are okay, but one time this happened, this reminds me of a time our friends' kids got lost, and loss is loss is loss. Pain isn't some zero. And where can we make sure our communities are safe? Where can we make sure our kids are safe? Where can we send $30 to, or $50 or $3,000? Like, where can we do a little bit of, put something in the hat to pass around to help out? Like, I think all of those are human experiences. And yet, if you're judging how other people are grieving, you're always going to feel judged when you grieve. And so the challenge there is not that you figure out a way to grieve right, but that you, in your spirit, decide, I'm going to stop judging people. If they're sad and heartbroken and weeping, I'm going to weep with them too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of that is even more, I think the more social media component than anything else. Like, I think that's where I judge more than having personal interactions with people. And I think that's kind of where my folly is I don't need to use social media as the gauge for that.
I think 1,000% you're onto something. Or to put it differently, now I'm from Texas, so it's a little bit easier for me. I got off of social media and I started making phone calls to people.
Yeah.
And that connected me directly to what was going on. And my wife and I are in a silly season of blessing, and we put our money where our mouth is. And my wife got in the car and drove across the state, and I kept the house together while she was down helping family. Like, so, like, you get involved where you can get involved. And if you don't know anybody in Texas and you don't know you can get off social media and find a local music artist and buy one of the t-shirts and put some money down there. And I mean, there's just a million ways to get to be supportive, but I think you're right. And by the way, can I give us all some grace? If there's a tragedy and kids are lost, we as parents would be nuts if we weren't transfixed to that, trying to figure out ways to make sure our kids don't get lost someday.
Yeah.
And when 30 feet of water rise up in less than 20 minutes or whatever crazy thing happened out there in Texas, it's unnerving because they can put sirens in and they can do that kind of stuff, fine. But there's not a lot you can do. And that's a terrifying notion for parents. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes, I can tell you this, there's a couple of times when I was doing crisis work when I would show up to sit with parents who had lost kids, and I would go in, this is before my daughter was born, but I would go in to my son's room when he was really little and he'd be sleeping, and I would just go hug him in the dark. Because there was nothing I could do. I just needed to put my hands on my son and be sad.
Yeah.
And be grateful too. Both
yeah, I did that after we had heard the news, and my wife and I were really broken up about it that weekend. And just in the evenings, like we were out of town, and I just I couldn't help just looking at my kids and just thinking, like, what if that was them?
That is a right response of a parent. It's a right response. And if somebody chooses to take that response and put it all over social media, I'm not gonna consume it, but I'm not gonna spend 1 second of energy trying to dig into their mind and spirit about their motive. I'm gonna go on about my day and see where, if any place, I can be of a support or assistance. And if this were to happen in Northern California, I just made up something. I know some people there. I'm trying to think of a place. I don't know anybody. In South Dakota, I wouldn't be able to call somebody. I don't know anybody there, right? I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't know the organizations to send money to. I wouldn't know what to do. And so it's right to feel helpless in my house here in Nashville. It's right to want to hug my kids extra. And all those things are right and good. It's that next step of trying to judge how people are grieving that I don't have any use for. I don't have any interest of. Loss is loss is loss. And as David Kessler says, grief is like a fingerprint. It's different for everybody. So if people are screaming in the street, I'm going to give that to them. And if they're silent and go into a closet in their house, I'm going to give that to them. And if they want to post about it or blog about it, I'm going to give that to them, because people grieve differently. And I'm going to move on with my life. I will speak out against disgusting politicians that try to use every horrible thing as a way to improve their standing. I think that's gross, and I think it's inhumane. But when it comes to moms and dads just grieving the loss of other people's kids, dude, grieve how you want to grieve, man. And yeah, get off social media and then do something in your life. Here's a couple things for grief. Write a letter, put money on the table, and go find something to do in your local community. Here's something silly. Get your kids together and get a trash sack, and y'all go for a long 2-hour walk and pick up trash in your neighborhood. Go find an organization in your local community and you and your kids just for an afternoon go do a thing. There's something about it's a stress cycle, but if you go do a thing, if you go do a hard thing, you go exercise, you go spend some time serving somebody else, it literally works the chemicals out of your body, the cortisol and the adrenaline that should fire in every parent when kids are under attack. And so finding a way to channel this instead of just scrolling. That would be my highest recommendation there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And maybe if you want to do something, I used to do this and I just stopped. It became overwhelming. But every time there was a shooting and kids died, or every time there was a loss of kids, I would read their name on the show. You can go back to some of the earlier episodes, and I wanted people to hear their names. And for me personally, there's an experience saying their names out loud and recognize them as whole beings. As I have a 9-year-old little girl, man, she would have been in one of those cabins, right? And I was a camp counselor growing up in college. I would have had to make the decision, do I break the window out and walk these kids out here up in neck-deep water, or do I just ride it out? I mean, I put myself in that situation several times just as a thought experiment. And it's daunting. It's terrifying, right? All of us have been there. And so maybe getting the list of those girls off some media site and writing a letter to each one of them that you'll never send. And just let them know, hey, I am going to be the best dad to my kids ever. Wanted you to know. Your loss reminded me of the importance of life and how precious life is. And I'm going to be the best freaking dad that's ever lived. And my kids, Susie and Jim, they're going to have a dad that loves them to the moon and back. Right? That may be a way to process that grief.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, end of all this call, get off social media, man. Just it literally adds nothing. After the initial what's going on, and there is a news aspect to it, I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna get off and go look around my home, look around my neighborhood, look around my community, and say, where can I be a person of support?